also can be harmful to adults and particularly to older people. Going back, the history here is that about 10 years ago, residents of Park West Village on 97th Street in Columbus became aware that the landlord was negotiating a land swap with the Jewish Home and Hospital to trade their territory, and the Jewish Home wanted to build a 20-story nursing home on the parking lot that is in front of 784 Columbus. For many reasons, yes? Between 784 Columbus and PS 163, which is a major piece of our concern here. We became alarmed for a variety of reasons, including the fact that the 3 to 4 years of construction would result in pounding and blasting right next to our homes and the school. Not a good thing. And we further became aware that land testing showed that there was a great deal of lead and other toxins in the soil of the parking lot that probably resulted from its being a parking lot before lead-free gas came into being. As a result, a group called the Working Group at Park West Committee convened. All right, the bill has passed the Senate unanimously. It's now in the Assembly. We understand that Danny O'Donnell is going to be a co-sponsor of it, and we're very excited about that and very hopeful. The number of the bill is A7635. You can Google it and see the details. It conforms with Earth Justice's recommendations for lead levels that are considerably safer than those that now exist. So let me now turn this over.
Yep. I just want to say that I got a nod from Jay, the chair of our legislative task force, and so I think the right person has already heard the concern and will take a look at it.
Dean is next. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hello all. I'm not going to stand because I haven't got stability to do that. My name is Dean Heitner. I'm chair of the working group of Park West Village. As I think many of you on the board know, because you follow this, but for those of you who are relatively new, as Shanna said, this issue started 10 years ago when JHL announced the proposal to build a 24-story nursing home in the parking lot at Park West Village, next to the school. The opposition to that construction spawned 2 legal cases. One of them was, we call it an environmental case or a secret case. We lost that case at the Court of Appeals, partly because the Department of Health had relied on EPA standards in lead, which are well below what science now requires, and Shanna dealt with that. The second case, which we refer to as the zoning case, was a case that we brought against the Board of Standards and Appeals, and it's Article 78, which basically challenged what we thought was a bizarre definition of open space in the zoning resolution. This case, which was joined by JHL and the owner of the parking lot, we actually won at the appellate division in October of 2018. It was a remarkable victory that the community was very proud of, but as Mark said with the Amsterdam case, you could expect the developer and the city immediately appealed to the Court of Appeals. So where we are now is that after months of briefs and after months of briefs, it is now before the Court of Appeals. Probably will be heard in April or May. But there are 2 takeaways from this that I want to leave you with. One is that JHL has pulled out, and they are really no longer a player. They are not going to build on that lot. That's number one. The second, it's because there was a change in the zoning resolution that affected the bulk requirements, and they just couldn't build the building they wanted to build. So they pulled out. The city and Shatreat developer are still in it, and the developer has indicated to us that he intends to build there, something, even if he loses the case. So what I wanna do is, first of all, thank the board, for all the support that you've given us for this 10-year journey. But also tell you that because of where this thing may wind up, we may very well be asking for your support in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Pass the right to Tim. Ryan?
Hi, I'm Tim Nelson. I'll be real quick and mindful of time. I am a parent of 2 students at PS 163. I am also a member of the school leadership team and the PTA. There was another lawsuit other than the one that is pending right now that the school initiated and worked with, and kind of the same thing that happened at 200 West, as you talked about before, kind of happened here, where we won at the appellate division level, and then the forces that be came by, and we ultimately lost at the Court of Appeals. But one of the takeaways at the Court of Appeals was that if you want to make these changes, do so through legislation. And so that's why we've taken the dual path of continuing on with the legislation that's going to be heard, with the litigation that's going to be heard by the Court of Appeals this spring, but also the legislation that's been sponsored by Mr. Engelbright. So I just wanted to point out that as a parent and as a community member, we worked really hard to do what we can here, and it's about the environmental concerns of these children. If you know 97th Street, it's a very, very busy street. It's a dangerous street. There's it's crazy that anyone would want to build such a facility or a nursing home and bring that type of traffic in front of a school. And this is a K-5 school that has 540 students, many of which over 40 are in pre-K. If you know anything about what's going on with the DOE and lead right now, they had to really quickly investigate all this lead in pre-K right before the school year started this school year, and they haven't even gotten to the other grade levels across the city. So these are all really important issues, and it's for the health and safety and benefits of our children and our collective community. So we want to thank the board for supporting us here, and thank you mostly to the working group, because none of them had kids at PS 163, and they live right there, but they really did it for PS 163. And one of the persons who passed away since spent a lot of his own personal money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, doing lead testing and to see. And so we didn't know in the beginning this was going to be that, but thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Tom Caffrey, who's going to talk about 200 Amsterdam Avenue some more, followed by Ronnie Basson about the census.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has already caught you up on what's the latest, namely that the city, through the Department of Buildings and the developer, have both filed, as I understand it, a notice of appeal this morning. And thank you for your efforts to get the mayor to
it was the elected officials.
rescind.
We should give
Yes.
credit to elected officials, not us.
That they made efforts to get the mayor to back off as far as the Department of Buildings goes. The Department of Buildings notice of appeal means that our victory, community victory, and thank you to the board for its support on the community. I'm joining you in thanking the board on another matter. But with the board's support and the support of other community leaders, we won the case against all odds a couple of weeks ago. That may entail, if the appeal survives, removing up to 35 floors of that building at 200 Amsterdam. They say 20, but it could be more. It depends on what zoning lot ends up being a legal zoning lot. And what we're looking for briefly is some sort of order. We don't know how we can do that, but some sort of order that stops the developer during the time of appeal from continuing to build, because he has continued to build during the case itself. And if we could get some sort of I don't know what, but
that's a matter for your lawyer to deal with.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
But the more he builds, the greater his claim to not having to cut off those stories becomes.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ronnie Basson from, this is the city version of supporting the census. We've also heard from the federal folks who've come by a couple of times, but you can't hear the message too often. Ronnie, go ahead.
Okay, so we have 9 more days until the census goes live, which means that on March 12th, at 1 a.m., you can go on and you can do your census form. All the mailings will start going out from the federal government on March 12th. And it will tell you how you can vote, whether it be on your smartphone, computer, laptop, however you want to do it. We are, and I'm with New York City, with the mayor's office, we are very concerned in this particular area with a few sectors. The Manhattan Valley, which has been not as responsive as one would hope. NYCHA buildings, and that goes for the Amsterdam houses all the way up. And the third group are senior citizens. I don't know if you're aware of how many elderly people actually live in your area. Well, yes, I bet you've seen most of them. However, when you're not seeing them, or when they're not voting down the fairway, they're about 20% right now. And we are estimating that in 2020, when the counts come in, we're going to be somewhere around 23%. It's the largest growing sector, okay, in New York, and we have to worry about them. A lot of people who fall into that category, and of course nobody here, but they may have difficulty filling out the census form, so they need help. We have gotten the agreement of all the senior centers, all the NORCs. You all know what a NORC is?
It's a sophisticated crowd here, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, but you know, when I started this job, I didn't know any acronyms, none. And my life now is an acronym. Okay, so we're working with them. I want to tell you that all of the engagement people, the people who engage with residents in the NYCHA buildings are being trained right now. The PTA and teachers have been trained, and all the kids will be coming home with flyers in their backpacks, two rounds of that. But we do need some help. We need to make every one of you an ambassador, to tell everybody you know that when they get this form, don't throw it out. It looks like junk mail, okay? It comes in an envelope that does not have your name on it. All it has is resident or occupant of the address. People think it's garbage and they leave it. Okay, please don't do that.
Okay,
Okay.
we got it?
Yep.
Shelley, real quick.
In the back.
Ronnie, don't go away.
You can send this back. It was a woman who, a senior citizen, who applied for a job, I mentioned this several months ago, and she's very able, body able mind, and she's still, she called today, and they say they got her application, they still haven't called her, she lives in Manhattan Valley. So she not only.
Shelley, I'm gonna stop you because that person applied to the federal and Ronnie is with the city.
Okay, but I can tell you, I know the answer, okay, they have just begun interviewing, they will not start training until sometime like mid to late April. No, only a handful of people have already been told.
Yeah, thank you. So Nancy Bass, is it Whedon? I'm sorry. Come on up, to be followed by Elizabeth, I'm gonna butcher another name. Is it Felicella? Felicella? You'll do it right.
So I'm Nancy Bass Wyden. I'm the owner of the Strand Bookstore. So if you don't, just for a little bit of history, the Strand was founded by my grandfather 93 years ago in 1927 in an area known as Book Row. It was right near our flagship store and it ran along 4th Avenue. At its height, there were 48 bookstores. The Depression hit, times went on, and all of the 48 bookstores shuttered, leaving the Strand there. The Strand was then passed on to my dad, Fred Bass, and he grew the store to a scale and popularity that he never imagined that was possible. Dad died 2 years ago, and the store has been left to me, and we've just beaten the odds and survived and thrived, thanks to our book-loving community, my family's hard work, and our wonderful staff. So that just makes me so happy to announce that we're opening up a location in your community, which is 450 Columbus Avenue, and that's gonna be in the spring, and it's on Columbus, on between 81st and 82nd Street, just 2 blocks north of the Natural History Museum. And we're gonna bring as much of the Strand downtown to your community. We're gonna have events, lectures, and discussions. We're gonna have a story time for the kids at 11 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll have a big kids section, and we're gonna do an astronomy theme that's kind of an homage to the planetarium. We can't haul 18 miles of books up here, but we're gonna have a huge selection that's curated for the West Side community. So we'll be opening in the spring, and I just wanna say thank you for letting me speak.
Coalition that is urging Albany to create new taxes or reassess the tax structure in order to raise money for the things that all New Yorkers need. These taxes, we are working right now on 14 proposals. These taxes target only the wealthiest New Yorkers. For example, there is a wealth tax which would affect 112 billionaires. New York has 112 billionaires, that is it. This is a long-term effort, and we are at the beginning of it, and I am admittedly not a policy person, but we are here asking you to look at our website and perhaps to sign a petition, which we have right now. The petition will go to Governor Cuomo and also to Andrea Stewart Cousins. And we would appreciate kind of not necessarily your support, but just to look into this, to inform yourself, and hopefully we can change the narrative around revenue and around public resources. And I will end by saying we, Community Board 12 passed a resolution 2 weeks ago by a unanimous vote to support this. And we are speaking, we will be talking to community boards around the city, hoping to build a kind of a show of support that we can bring to Albany. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next up is Zach Campbell from the Museum of Natural History, to be followed by, is it Dargle Cochran?
Daryl.
Seriously, really?
Hi, good evening all. My name is Zach Campbell. I'm the community liaison at the American Museum of Natural History for the Gilder Center project. Apologies, you want the mic up more. I'm here giving the updates on the Gilder Center project. Last month I noted that work was underway, and it was largely a continuation of what had been going on the month prior. That continues to be true, with construction activity focused on installing caissons and footings for the foundation supports for the new building. The number of construction vehicles accessing the site is anticipated to remain the same, approximately 10 to 20 per day for the March to April period, and that includes some concrete deliveries. Machinery on site includes drill rigs, excavators, demo hammers, front-end loaders, and various other hand tools. I also want to note, though, that we'll be conducting some limited weekend work over the upcoming weekends in March. Now, work is going to be limited only to the installation of pre-delivered materials, so no trucks in or out, and that'll only include construction activities with minimal noise impact. No deliveries of equipment or materials, and the work hours will be strictly limited to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays only. And the need for this weekend work is largely due to unforeseen site conditions, as well as some weather impacts. Mark, we've spoken about that a little bit. The foundation work that we're currently in encountered some delays. Our construction managers and foundation contractors examined numerous alternatives and are working to accomplish as much as possible on normal work hours on weekdays. Generally speaking, we try to avoid weekend work. However, these critical operations are required to complete the foundation in a timely manner. With that said, If you haven't already, please sign up for our e-blasts. You can go to our website, www.amnh.org, find the Gilder Center link, and sign up there. Thank you.
Okay, well, Daryl is making his way forward. I will remind everybody that we have a construction advisory group with respect to the Museum of Natural History project that I have shared with Zach and the group. Our ongoing concern as a board about after-hours variances and weekend work, and that should be limited to instances in which there is a real public safety issue. We have not objected formally to this request, but we are going to be mindful of any future requests going forward. And I'm glad to talk to anybody after the meeting or offline about concerns that you may have about that. And without further ado, Daryl Cochran.
Is 2 minutes? Wow, I'm on CB12 and we moved ours to 3, so I'm very envious of you all. 1, oh wow. So just a few things. I'm with the City Commission on Human Rights. I'm the director of the Manhattan Community Service Center, and I just want to come and update you on some of the interesting things that we've been doing lately. You may have heard last February we instituted a new protection based on hairstyle that predominantly impacted women of color. And we had our first case against somebody, and that was a hair salon that you can find on our website, but they were fined $70,000 and were told that they need to bring in a scholarship program to really help people learn how to do certain hairstyles. Also, just last month, we had a case against Prada. You may have heard last winter. They had some unfortunate blackface items that was mainly in their Soho store and other locations worldwide. We brought that down, and now we're ensuring that they have a diversity and inclusion officer, and we're ensuring that they are trained, both their staff here in the United States as well as their staff in Milan. I unfortunately don't get to go there, but and also we have a youth Equity and Solidarity Council that is starting. We're looking to recruit 5,000 youth who are interested in human rights issues in their schools to act as another point of safe space for their schools citywide. And then also you may have seen just a few weeks ago, we launched a new campaign to combat anti-Semitism. So you can find that on our website and other materials and resources for that. Thank you.
Thank you. So that ends the public session. We're now going to have reports from elected officials. While April Adams from the Manhattan Borough President's Office makes her way forward, and thank you for the card, because I always can be counted on to forget to do that. I note that there is a card here from someone named Dylan Stevenson. Is Dylan, first of all, a man? Okay. Mr. Stevenson identified himself as a candidate for Congress. We do not offer the public session for political statements. However, would you please stand up? If anybody has a question for Mr. Stevenson and wants to ask it outside the meeting room, you're welcome to do that as well as with any other candidate for public office. Fair enough? All right. So April Adams, to be followed by Suad Hassan from Senator Serrano.
Good evening, y'all. I'm April Adams with Gail Brewer's office. I just have a couple of quick updates. Thank you, Mark and others, for already touching on 200 Amsterdam. We're actively working with the various stakeholders in that as well. So we'll be working with MAS, Council, Olive, and we'll be determining next steps in that regard. A quick reminder, our State of the Borough will be Sunday, March 29th. We're hosting, the theme is Art and Justice, and we're hosting that at the Hammerstein Ballroom at 311 West 34th Street. Doors open at 1:30 p.m. and the actual program will start at 2. So we hope that everyone will come and check that out. Helicopters. So summer is coming. I know the helicopters are already buzzing all around Manhattan, but summer, of course, is always way worse. So, of course, you all know that last summer the borough president reconvened the helicopter task force. We're actively working on this issue, and we hope to have some updates soon. It is a very complicated issue. I know that Congressman Nadler and others have been working diligently against it, but I'll just let you know that we'll have an update soon on that. Women's History Month. So next Wednesday, March 11th at 6 p.m. at our office at 1 Center Street, we are going to have a gallery out there, and we have a show curated by Pin and Brush. Pin and Brush has been working for over 125 years to elevate artists, female artists and female writers as well. So they're gonna actually curate that show, and that's next Wednesday, March 11th. And the theme is Art and the Written Word. And lastly, I'm not sure if any of y'all were able to make our Morningside Park Community Forum, which we held on January 29th. We will have some follow-ups soon on that. We had a lot of great recommendations that were actually curated by the community, and we'll actually put that in some sort of document and give that out to everyone and start the next steps for action. So, thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Suad Hassan from Senator Serrano's office, to be followed by Julian De La Porta from Councilmember Helen Rosenthal's office.
Hi, everybody. My name is Suad Hassan, Director of Community Affairs for Senator Serrano. I have a few legislative updates. So last night, the legislature approved $40 million for coronavirus response. Last month, the state senate passed the senator's bill to require cultural awareness and competency training for medical professionals. This is to reduce healthcare disparities and improve medical outcomes. In addition, the senator introduced two bills. One with Senator Rachel May to create a New York senior trail guide that identifies walking and hiking opportunities for active seniors in state parks, DEC managed lands, and along public non-motorized multi-use trails. He also introduced the Museum Education Act with Assembly Member Patricia Fahey. This is to provide leading New York State cultural and historical institutions with expanded financial assistance to develop and expand existing cultural curriculum-based programs. This bill would also help remove transportation-related cost barriers that prevent many school districts from connecting students with these institutions. We had our Manhattan Budget Forum last week, but you're still able to submit testimonies at manhattanbudgetforum@gmail.com. And on March 13th, we'll have a scanned presentation with 20th Precinct Crime Prevention Officer Markovic at Jassa Club 76. And lastly, my coworker Jose Ramon is on the Upper West Side every Wednesday, and he'll be giving away reusable bags. I have a calendar for location and times in the back. Thank you.
So while Julian's coming up, I'll remind everybody that there are reusable bags here. Please take them home with you because the plastic bag ban went into effect. Also, we want to thank our CERT for providing a flyer that's in the back, as well as another flyer from the mayor's office having to do with the coronavirus. So there's information for you back there. I see Elizabeth before.
Very quick question. For any of the legislative officers who are here tonight, is there anyone who can answer the question about the money that was going, the $40 million, I believe, the chair of our health committee, I don't know if Bryce is here tonight, but he voted no, and I'd just like to know what the issue was for why there were people in our neighborhood who voted no to that.
So that's a question for our state elected officials, but we've got a city elected official first, and then we'll get back to that, okay? Okay, so we'll call Swat back up at that.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Julian from Councilmember Helen Rosenthal's office. I wanted to share some exciting community news we have going on in the neighborhood. We're hosting a reusable bag giveaway this Saturday from 11 to 3 at the 96 and Broadway train station. We're also hosting our pro bono legal service this Wednesday, our housing clinic, which will be at the 91st Street and Columbus Bernie Wall Center for constituents to receive free legal services from lawyers. I put flyers in the back. If anyone has any questions, I'll be in the area till the end of the meeting. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks so much. So, Suad, did you have an answer to the question, or?
I'm just trying to get informationally, trying to figure out. I know it was Meyer.
Really?
Yeah, I know that the state senator voted for the bill, so there's no reason for us to be against it.
Okay.
If anyone else knows.
I think that it came with extra executive power for some of us, so people were hesitant to support that.
So, continuing on my handwriting issues, Hannah, where are you? There you are. Hannah from from Representative Jerry Nadler's office. Well, wishful thinking, right? Before it's been paid. Followed by Jacob Riley from State Senator Brad Wellman.
Hi everyone. So I'm Hannah Wiener from Congressman Nadler's office. We're doing a lot. We're doing both continuing oversight and making sure that we pass legislation, as I mentioned to you. So first, just in the continuing oversight framework. So As many of you know, William Barr is going to be testifying in front of the Judiciary Committee on the 31st. So ahead of that, Congressman Nather requested that the DOJ provide the committee with information and access to 15 individuals who are currently or formerly employed by the department and who have knowledge concerning improper intervention in the Roger Stone prosecution and other cases of personal interest to President Trump. So we will try to get that information before he comes before the committee. He also, after I believe the Court of Appeals ruled that Don McGahn did not have to respond to the subpoena, he's getting it sent back to a phrase that I just learned called rehearing en banc before the full DC Circuit Court. En banc, excuse me. I'm not a lawyer, so this is very helpful. En banc. Okay, great. Thank you. This is an educational moment, and we're learning together. Beautiful. Just on another note, some of you know that the Army Corps of Engineers was doing a study looking at the New York harbor post-Sandy, how we could build and be resilient. It began in 2016. Congress funded it for 6 years. The Trump administration just pulled the funding, so Mr. Nadler condemned it quite emphatically, and we're trying to make sure that that money is funded and that the study continues, because resiliency is of utmost importance for this community and for, you know, our country as a whole, but that's neither here nor there. The Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, finally we have it's a federal crime to lynch, the fact that it wasn't a federal crime is crazy to me, neither here nor there. Obviously named in memory of Emmett Till, passed the House. We'll see what happens in the Senate. There are, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are very leaders on the Senate side for that. And then just, we passed 3 bills out of committee to, or I believe that we introduced 3 bills, excuse me, to improve access to fair and impartial justice across the court system. So they'll be hopefully coming to committee soon, and I will keep you posted. In terms of the federal response to the coronavirus issues, the CDC level, there's a lot of information on the CDC website. If anyone has any specific concerns, you can feel free to call our office. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jacob Riley from State Senator Brad Hillman's office, followed by Eric Cuello from Councilmember Mark Levine's office. I'm taking these in the order in which they were given to me, so there's no rhyme or reason. Please don't confuse strategy.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Riley with State Senator Brad Hoylman's office. To speak to Liz's point, I will not speak on the assembly member's vote, but I believe there was concerns about the rushed process in which it was done and the authority that was given to the governor in such a manner. So that is my understanding of the issue. And then I would also just like to say, Nancy, we are very grateful to have you as a constituent, and I think the Upper West Side is very grateful to have you as well. To continue on the conversation about coronavirus, the senator has a bill that would ban price gouging for medical supplies, so anything above a 10% increase during a public health crisis would be considered price gouging and would be illegal and subject to a fine from the Attorney General. And to also speak to 200 Amsterdam, we are monitoring the situation very closely and stand with the community in its support of the taking down of the floors and also the lawsuit that was filed. And so we look forward to supporting the community's efforts in what the hell is going on with 200 lastly, we passed a bill in the Senate that would make it easier to cancel your gym memberships, just in case your, just in case your resolutions didn't pan out. We're happy to take care of that for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Eric Cuello, Councilmember Mark Levine's office.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Eric Cuello from Councilmember Mark Levine's office. Just a few updates. I know we're all talking about it. As the chair of health at the city, the council member is very concerned about coronavirus and what it means for the city. He's actually called a hearing for this Thursday at 1 p.m., which will be examining the city's preparedness for coronavirus and try to get as much information as possible to the public. It'll be a public testimony and dialogue with a broad range of representatives from the city's public health agencies and representatives. Again, it'll be at City Hall this Thursday at 1. It will also be live streamed on the council members' Twitter and Facebook for those who aren't able to attend. We actually just had a hearing this past Monday on Right to Counsel 2.0, as we call it, an expansion of the existing Right to Counsel bill. We've seen a 37% drop of evictions since the first bill was enacted, and we're looking to do more. Right now, if you are making minimum wage in New York City and you are in a single household, you don't qualify for Right to Counsel because of the income guidelines. We're trying to expand that. We think that we can get 10,000 or more cases heard on that threshold, as well as people who need assistance when landlords file appeals. So there are a number of things that we're looking to tackle on that front, and now that we've had our hearing, we're looking forward to hopefully getting this through. We have a majority in the council right now that have signed on, so we're looking forward to having that happen. And finally, Mark, you mentioned the city budget. Just to make sure everyone is aware, public testimony for the city budget is March 16th, again at City Hall, and that'll be at 10 a.m. So anybody who wants to go and advocate on behalf of an organization or agency, please do so there. Thank you very much.
Eric, before you go,
Yes.
so that's general budget testimony, and then individual committees will also hold hearings,
Correct.
Okay, and could you say one sentence as Lori H. Didn't give me a last name, probably.
I can give it to you, but.
Well, given my track record tonight, I don't blame you for just committing it there. Please come on up while Eric gives us one quick second on last night's events and the HDFC advocacy, because there are HDFCs in our district as well as in District 9.
Yes, absolutely. So there was an HDFC forum that was held by Community Board 9 and the HDFC Coalition, which I was happy to attend, mainly advocating for issues revolving around our HDFC community. I think it was very informative for people to understand their rights and to know where they need to advocate on certain bills that are coming up through the city and the state. They had a lot of action items that they want to look forward to, and they're going to be reaching out to the community as a whole.
What is HDFC? Housing Development Finance Corporation. It is how people who formerly were squatters in buildings that were crack dens and were abandoned by their landlords and reclaimed by grassroots community efforts were eventually given some form of equity in the homes that they helped build and are now being sought to be regulated in ways in which, let's say, some of our neighbors find controversial. HDFC Coalition .org. Thank you. All right, Lori H. from the Speaker's Office, followed by Michael Stinson from Comptroller Stringer's Office.
Hi, so my name is Lori Hardger-Rogo from Speaker Johnson's office. The Speaker will be giving a State of the City address March 12th. I'm going to send all that information to Mark. So very quickly, our office will be holding a free tax prep day on Monday, April 6th from 12 to 6. You can call our office for an appointment. All the flyers are in the back if you need the information. Our 2020 PB Project Expo is coming up on March 26th from 6:30 to 8:30. Come see the projects being proposed for funding. You can also vote on the projects that night. The event will be at Hudson Guild, that's 441 West 26th Street. And finally, our office is in partnership with CUNY, with CUNY, we'll be holding a Citizenship Now event March 7th. There'll be lawyers and immigration specialists to help with the application. It's a free service and it'll be held at Holy Apostles at 296 9th Avenue from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And all of this is in the back.
Thanks a lot. Michael Stinson from Comptroller Stringer's office, and followed by Erica Overton from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office.
Hi everybody, Mike Stinson from the Comptroller's office. Just a couple quick announcements. Our internship application period ends this Friday. It's for all college students, graduate students, law students. We do pay for our summer internships. It's a 6-week internship program. If you know of anybody that's interested, please go to our website, controller.nyc.gov, and apply there. And we have 2 events coming up. One is next Thursday, our Women's History Month event. It's at the American Museum of Natural History, so there's no excuse for you guys not to be there. It's in the neighborhood. And one of our honorees is Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, so I hope we have a good turnout of West Siders for the night. And the week after, we have our Irish Heritage Breakfast all the way downtown, so you have a little bit of excuse not to go down. But it's at 8:30 in the morning. at the 1 Center Street, and we have a couple great honorees, and Siobhan Dennehy from the Emerald Isle Immigration Center, and Gerard Fitzgerald from the Uniformed Firefighters Association. So we hope to see some of you guys out there. Again, if you know of any college-age students that would like to intern in our office, we have a great experience, and they can work with me. So thank you, and have a great week.
And I didn't plan this, but the honoree, Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, by way of Erica Overton.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica Overton. I work for Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. She's unfortunately in Albany, so she cannot be here tonight. But first, we did want to touch on 200 Amsterdam. The Assemblymember issued a statement earlier today. She is deeply disturbed that the city would join the appeal. And she does have a bill in the New York State Assembly that would ban the very practice that allowed 200 Amsterdam to rise. So partial tax lot mergers, if passed, would be the law of the land. You can't do that anymore. A second bill of hers passed the New York State Assembly today or yesterday, where the bill authorizes all public accommodations in New York State to have naloxone. So schools, restaurants, stores, they are now authorized to carry naloxone to reverse an overdose. And then third, just wanted to give you an update on what I spoke about last month about the M11. We have secured the meeting with the MTA and DOT. And so we're getting CB7 and CB4 to join us sometime in the next few weeks to hopefully fix the bus route. And then 3 events that are coming up. The Assemblymember is hosting a book collection drive on March 5th, and that will be happening throughout the entire month of March. And then a tax-free tax prep clinic on March 13th. And then a Shred Day. We usually have it in July, but we're having it in April by popular demand. I think I get more phone calls about Shred Day than a lot of other things. So on April 26th, right after tax season, you can shred all of your documents. And that'll be in front of the Assemblymember's district office. That's it.
Shredding can be cathartic. Liam Galligan from Assemblymember Danny O'Donnell's office, to be followed by Shanna Harmengoff from Senator Benjamin's office.
Thank you, Mark. Couple things. First thing is we are co-hosting along with Councilmember Rosenthal a reusable bag giveaway. They're like the ones over there, but if you forget tonight, I'm sure we'll all forget reusable bags at some point. There'll be another time to get them on Saturday. Couple other things. We have some priorities for the budget that Assemblyman O'Donnell is leading. The first is NISCA funding, the New York State Council of the Arts, as well as increased funding for cultural institutions that are smaller and don't normally get enough state funding. Two other things for Goddard Riverside Law Project and Palante, which are helping to provide tenant counseling and eviction legal representation for people who are above the right to counsel income lines, which, as Eric said, are very low. So they do that on their own dime, so really need state support. And the last thing, the CUNY and SUNY universities have a huge shortage in funding. That's because of the TAP gap, where the tuition assistance program grants for low-income students don't really meet full tuition needs, and that's a shortfall of around $130 million for CUNY and SUNY schools across the state in this school year alone. So we're really trying to eliminate that TAP gap, and if it might have to tax 100 billionaires to do it, that's okay with us. And that's about it. So thanks, and hope everyone has a lovely week. And wash your hands.
Thank you. Shanna Harmengoff from State Senator Brian Benjamin's office, and I think that will do it for us.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Shauna Harmengoff, the District Officer for New York State Senator Brian Benjamin. Just a couple of things. This is budgeting season for the State Senate. So Senator Benjamin, he proposed a community influence legislation honoring the dignity of the formerly incarcerated through state IDs. So he's proposing a bill that would partner the State Department of Corrections and the community supervision with the Department of Motor Vehicles to issue non-driving IDs to incarcerated New Yorkers as they prepare to return to being productive members of society. Currently, those being released are issued a temporary ID by the DOCCS that carries a stigma and can make it difficult for someone looking for like a job, get an apartment, and even a gym membership. So he's proposing legislations for this. A couple of our upcoming events in March, we're doing a women's Her Story brunch, and it's going to be on March the 21st. This is our first event we're doing on a Saturday, and it's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We usually do a lot of events during the week, but this is our first event we're doing on a Saturday in the morning, and it's at brunch, and it's going to be at the National Black Theater on 125th and 5th Avenue. We're also having our district-wide town hall in April. It's going to be on Tuesday, April the 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. So hopefully we'll see all of you there. Again, I'm Shauna. We're in the State Office building on the 9th floor, Suite 912. If you have any questions, I'll be here, so I'll be in the back. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. So that concludes our public session with thanks. We're gonna mess with the agenda order for a couple of reasons. The first item that we're going to discuss tonight is the resolution from the Housing Committee, and I'll let Melissa. Are you gonna take it or? Yeah. Okay. That would be great. And there are plenty of seats around, so please make use. There you go.
Okay, so just, yeah, we're just escalating it because I have a bit of a cold and might not last. But also, since you guys are all still here, to summarize, this is a resolution calling on our elected officials to include $2 billion in NYCHA funding in the budget. We do not see it in either one house or in the executive budget. You guys named some really worthy causes for your budget items, but we're all really disappointed to see that this was not one of them that has been discussed. We're asking for $2 billion to be allocated. This is just a small step towards reaching the $40 billion capital needs of NYCHA. This is in line with the other housing advocates' asks. Our neighbors in Community Board 7 are living in unacceptable conditions, and we don't want this to persist, and we cannot keep waiting as the backlog gets worse and worse. So I think that about covers it. Any questions from the board? Again, this is calling for the state to allocate $2 billion for the NYCHA capital needs.
The text is in your packet, yes. Okay, any questions? Are we ready to call the question? Are you voting or your question? All right.
All in favor?
All in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 35 for, all opposed. Any abstaining? Any ineligible to be caught? The vote carries 35 all.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to go back to. Now we're going to. Okay. We got BCI, yes. Okay.
Okay, so for the most part, we had a lot of renewals and life was good, but we had one very controversial issues that had to do with a change in the method of operation at the 329 Columbus Avenue. And these are long-time restaurateurs in the neighborhood. But something happened here, and a lot of the neighbors came by to complain about the noise. The issue that we had here was the change of operation had to do not with decibel levels. The change of the method of operation had nothing to do with the change of decibel levels. It had nothing to do with applying for a liquor license. They have a liquor license. So what we asked the applicant to do was to speak to the many, many neighbors who showed up and expressed their ire. They were talking about noise and employees smoking pot in this little alleyway, noise in the alleyway because of the bottles, the garbage being taken out. There were a lot of issues, and they were serious issues. The fact of the matter is the speakers are the same speakers, whether he uses a disc jockey or live music, and they're modified hours only on weekends. So we kind of had our hands tied here, so we really asked him to speak and work with the neighbors. When they went out after our meeting, after our vote, all of the neighbors had exchanged the phone numbers with the owner, Larry Ballone. Is Larry Ballone here tonight?
No, but I'm Patrick Duxbury. I was the one that was sharing phone numbers with everybody. I'm the director of operations for Tessa and Asset.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to sit down now because we have one speaker and they were there, you did exchange, we watched you exchange phone numbers. Has anything been resolved?
I can't hear him.
Okay, so you can come on up here, we'll talk.
Okay.
Do you have another mic?
So we have, why don't you take off the speaker first and then.
Okay, good idea, okay. So we do have a public speaker here. He was not able to make the meeting, but he says there are still issues, so I'm going to ask Mr. Bolanos here, whom I've known many years, okay? Bolanos can come up here, and, longtime neighbor.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be as quick as possible. I'm the president, excuse me, of West 76th Street Park Block Association, and that's right between Columbus and Central Park West and 76, excuse my voice. We're having a problem, and we oppose this new proposal that was approved by committee, in that they will have live music, they will have a DJ, and they will have piped-in music. Now, we don't have an issue with the piped-in music. We don't really have an issue if we have a controlled trio or quartet. But the DJ aspect is horrific. And a lot of the members of the block didn't show up tonight because they said it's a done deal. And I'm here to tell you that it shouldn't be a done deal, and that we trust that you will really think about this, because we have what we call the backyard corridor, which is, it's hard to see here. But what happens is behind Asset are all the backyards going from Columbus Avenue to Central Park West. Now you can actually stand behind the building where Asset is, and you could speak a normal tone voice, and you could hear it 3/4 of the way down the yards. Now if you don't have soundproofing, which I don't believe they do, which is isolation soundproofing, what we're gonna get is the bass of a DJ's music. In the summer, they have an outdoor cafe approved. So when those doors open for service, you're gonna have the bass leaking out to the sidewalk, all right? And the other thing is too, is they're not exactly the nicest people as far as neighbors go, because back in, I believe it was March of last year, before they got their permits from LPC to change the storefront, they covered it, they shedded it, and they never displayed permits. What happened was, I was in touch with LPC, and they said that they hadn't filed for permits yet to change. They were approved, but they hadn't filed to get the plans to get the permit about 3 weeks before they started construction on that side. Another thing, real quick, is that they had a dry opening, and what they did was, a soft opening, I'm sorry, thank you. What they did was they blocked the sidewalk with plants. So pedestrians had to walk around it simply because the scaffolding was probably an eyesore for them. These are not good neighbors. I'm going to tell you right now that if you approve the DJ aspect of this proposal, we're going to be back here. The police are going to be called for this, and it's going to be a real waste of time. We don't mind the quartet, live music, piped-in music, but we ask you, we beg you, to please deny them the actual DJ. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask the gentleman to come up here, who's the manager.
Hello, everybody.
Can you address these questions regarding the noise, and is there still noise in the back?
My name is Patrick Duxbury. I'm the Director of Operations for both Tessa and Asset Restaurants on the Upper West Side. Yes, in regards to 329 Columbus Avenue. On February 12th, when we came to the last community board meeting, we recognized that people were there to complain about the noise, about the bottles being taken out, about the lights on the side of the building shining into their apartments on the building from 76th Street. We have taken several steps. I mean, the building at 57 West 75th Street, which 329 Columbus Avenue is in, is putting hoods on all the lights so they don't shine to the building across. We have purchased several different recycling containers for the bottles. You said yourself when you were up here a minute ago that even if you're standing in the courtyard and you're speaking at a normal level, you can hear it down the block. That's at a normal level of speaking. We understand that taking out our trash has been a problem for people, and we're doing everything possible. February 12th wasn't that long ago. It's taken us, the shipping from the containers, training. We have 80 staff members that were just making sure that they're not in the alleyway. All of the alleyway has been posted with no smoking signs. There have been 2 employees that have been disciplined for smoking in the alleyway, one of which is no longer with us anymore. In terms of the DJ was already approved on our original liquor license. We're not a nightclub. We're a restaurant. We have features that allow us to be able to host events, large-scale events. We serve about 1,500 to 2,000 guests a week. We don't have DJs on a nightly basis. We have them on a rare occasion when there is an event or a special occasion. We applied to get the liquor license amended to have live music because we wanted to go about it the right way and do the right thing. We have no intention of having live music on a weekly basis. Again, it's to be able to when we want to host an event or we want to have a DJ. In terms of soundproofing, when we were doing construction, we wanted to make sure that we thought about it. I mean, it's an old building. There are people that live right upstairs above us. As you said, the alleyway, which is our egress, which we take out the trash, unfortunately, is adjacent to the building that I think you're in. But there's 2 layers of 1-inch thick sheetrock. There's 1-inch thick acoustical panels, which are sound silencers. They're used in cafeterias and restaurants. The entire restaurant is covered with sandblasted white oak planks, which are sound absorbing. All right. And I just want to say, if I can, we spoke a lot about community here tonight. And let's just talk about the current state of Columbus Avenue between 74th and 79th Street. There's a significant number of commercial vacancies. Chase, Duane Reade, this is all in our block. Chase, Duane Reade, Starbucks, Leonte down the street, Saffron, HSBC. The addresses of 392, 370, 343, 330, 305 Columbus Avenue are all empty. All right? We spent 2 years. We signed a 16-year lease. We signed that in 2017. We weren't even able to open until October of 2019 because of whatever, the city permits, things like that. All the permits that we needed to get to open, we got to open. Everything has been done by the book, 100%. We employ 80 employees, most of them which live on the Upper West Side or Morningside or in Harlem. We've had no official visits from the DEP, the DOT, the DOB, the DCA, the SLA, the NYPD, or the FDNY. So at this point, again, we want, it's our desire to be great neighbors. We understand that there is a noise issue that people aren't used to. I also heard you mention earlier that you knew when it was Memphis. It hasn't been a restaurant since it was Memphis. I don't know about me. I live on 80th and Columbus. I don't necessarily want to walk up and down the street with empty, boarded up shops all over the place. We want to be, have you ever been to the restaurant? Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. I think you answered a lot of the questions. We've got questions here. I'm going to start. Can we move this over here, Michelle? There's no more response at this point, but thank you.
Can we change the resolution, because it says to include disc jockey, recorded music, and live music, but as the man said, he's really only here to change the method of operation to include live music, is that right?
Correct.
Because the other 2 things
We're already on the, that's what.
Correct.
From the beginning. That wasn't clear because we didn't have the original method of operation. That was in front of us, so it applied to that. Robert, you had a question?
It's really more of a comment than, I'm not gonna repeat everything you said, but that's essentially my position on all of this, and we've gone over this over and over again. And the Upper West Side is becoming a ghost town, and we have to reverse this. we've had egregious situations up on, a little further up on Broadway, on Third Street, where you have exhaust, and neighbors who can't breathe, and the exhaust fans and that sort of thing. And we've sent the applications back several times for mitigating the solutions, and so we've always allowed that. And so I think that you need to be given the same opportunity. We can't have what the restaurants that certainly seasoned, experienced restaurateurs at risk on a regular basis. We even had a little tug of war with my favorite family Italian restaurant, 90th Street. No, I'm just giving illustrations, examples of what the board has done to mitigate the situation and to enable restaurants to function properly and to come to terms with the community, to collaborate with the community. And just for a point of clarification, and this is still in support of your position, live music doesn't include DJ. Live music is banned. And somehow as you're talking, and if we are talking live music, one of my hangouts used to be in La Fortuna on 74th Street, where they had opera. We were there every weekend, and it's just a wonderful thing. I never heard a complaint, okay? So that times change, age groups change, and you have to market your services. Food is food, but you have to draw different crowds, and there's a DJ aesthetic. I'm not happy about it, but I'm 77 years old, you see? But we did that, and we have a place coming up, in the 80s where they're gonna have music for my age group with the LPs, and they're gonna specialize in and they're gonna specialize in that kind of music. So we need all of this. So we have to endorse your proposal and work with you, collaborate with you as a community to get you going. And I don't want you to open and shut down, in a year and a half. I just can't take it anymore.
So much. Linda, yeah.
Was Michelle offering like a friendly amendment? I didn't
Yeah,
follow.
we could friendly amendment
Put
would
live
be.
music.
Yeah,
That's the only thing there is.
live music, because you already have the disc jockey on your original.
Or we don't know.
So,
They do.
we could, okay, John?
Who's gonna try that?
Thank you.
I think that's a smart idea to just change it to live music.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I could call SLA and find out if indeed they do have a DJ.
We didn't have your original.
The application was for live music, that was the only thing that was on the application. Yeah, I could check easily
Even
tomorrow.
at the community board meeting last, on the 12th, we submitted everything, and we came originally to get the liquor license from the community board sometime last year.
Yeah,
And it had the DJ on it, and it was approved at the meeting.
Yeah, okay, our bad.
100%.
The DJ's already
It's
there,
already
is the
there.
point. So, all we're doing, so in the friendly amendment, we're good. The friendly amendment will be to simply, change the method of operation will permit live music, since the disc jockey is there. In addition to recorded music and disc jockey from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays.
And it's not a weekly thing, it's not even a monthly thing, we don't even have anything on the calendar, it's just to be able to do it if we want to.
I just wanna call the question.
Okay.
I think we're there. Thank you.
If I may,
Yes.
what I suggest is that we call the question and take a vote, and then, let's make sure that you and I stay in touch, so if there are ongoing problems, we can relay them to the committee and make sure that we have an open dialogue. Better yet, let's do that too.
Because they all have each other's phone numbers at night, and I'm going to give you my email to address too.
Okay.
So, okay, so shall we call the question?
I'm sorry, there is a question.
Yeah,
When we've had a similar discussion on other restaurants,
yeah.
the issue of sound, baffling and or acoustics has been discussed. Was that discussed during this?
It was, and they've done extensive baffling. I think a lot of it has to do is because they've got like almost like a canyon effect due to that, egress there. So, and that's just a product of, so I think everybody's gonna do their best. It sounds like you're doing a lot of things in good faith. I was there and I witnessed that night when all the neighbors exchanged phone numbers with you and with Mr. Balone. So, okay, call the question?
Yes.
All in favor with the amendment?
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 43, 34. All those opposed? 1, 2, All those abstaining? One. Any ineligible due to cause? Zero. The vote is 34-1-1-0.
Okay, the next one, not controversial, really delightful, is a 2-year liquor license for public marketing Sushi Nonoka and Boga and Sushi Nonoka. They're already functioning as an omakase downstairs, and now they want a full liquor license. It is in the space, why am I forgetting the name of the Boardman restaurant? The space next to Nice Matan. There's a restaurant for many Tulani, thank you. Many years, they're already there partially, and they're opening up the entire space. It's a double space, duplex space, downstairs, lower level, and grade level. Japanese restaurant, no wild times, just great omakase. Any questions? What?
Are they here, Linda?
They're not.
The Lucerne, the hotel next door was in there.
I'm sorry?
They should tell the Lucerne, the hotel that's near where they are, they should tell the Lucerne about it.
They were well posted, and they're underneath the sidewalk shed, unfortunately, right now. Maybe, is anyone here? Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Is there anyone here from Sushi Nonoka? I didn't see you from last week.
Let's call the question.
Can we bundle with 3?
The next 3 we're going to bundle because they are renewals of unenclosed sidewalk cafes.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6,
no.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 42, 33, 34, 25. Okay, all of those opposed? Any abstaining? Any ineligible due to cause?
Okay, the next one was this was really delightful. This was also a liquor license for Le Botaniste. I'm going to get this right. Oh, Le Botaniste. Le Botaniste is a really wildly popular chain of vegan restaurants, and they're going to have a liquor license so you can be healthy and have fun. The Lincoln Square bid wrote to us and said they were so excited about having them. I think we're all excited. I don't see the gentleman who's the owner here tonight. And so there's nothing much to say except we give them a liquor license. Only, their hours of operation are from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So you can be healthy and sleep well. Any questions? Call the question.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Yep. All those opposed? Any abstaining?
You guys are not opposed, right?
No, they would, yes.
We're all. Okay, so the next several ones are the renewal of unenclosed sidewalk cafes comprising Pappardella. We're going to pull out Bluestone Lane. So we're going to do number 4 and number 6 and number 7 and number 8. So just bear with me. Number 7, number 8, and
We want a reservation.
huh?
Reservation, yes, but not a.
Huh? Oh, 7? Okay. I'm jumping the gun. We're almost done, folks. Okay. So anyway, so the renewal of the unenclosed cafes we're going to call out Bluestone Lane number 5. So this again is 4, 6, and 7. So they're all renewals. They're standard renewals, and so if you mark that down. Everybody was in favor, nothing's changed, footprints are exactly the same. Call the question?
4, 6, and 7.
4, 6, and 7. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Margaret, 7, 8.
Oh, and 5. Boardroom.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
4, 6, and 7?
Yeah.
4, 6, and 7.
And boardroom is 5. That was mine.
4, 6, and 7.
4, 6, and 7. All in favor?
All in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Any no for the cause? Vote 35 to 0.
Okay, where's this one?
Yes, 10-4.
Okay, 5 was a modification, and that's Bodrum. They are expanding their space, doubling their space between 88th and 89th Streets. And they're going to double the size of their sidewalk cafe. I want to say they are the ones who are always there within the 9 feet. They've been great neighbors, no complaints. Nobody was there to complain. Everybody was there saying, I'm happy that you're here. So we call it.
Taking over a vacant spot, right?
They're taking over a vacant spot. It's marked so that's the question. Call the question?
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. All those opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, vote is 35-0.
Okay, one more thing very quickly. I want to talk about Bluestone Cafe. Okay, Bluestone Lane Cafe, we had a little bit of an issue with them because they were proposing a side street sidewalk cafe that did not reflect the realities of that side street sidewalk cafe. They were saying that the tree guard was 26 feet from the corner of the building where it was 9 feet. So we got them to agree in writing that they would remove 2 tables and there would be ample space, unobstructed space for pedestrians and lots of baby carriages on that block to go through. So I just wanted to reinforce that, and we've all voted on it. Thank you very much. Oh, and they're never going to have their service station there again either, which by the way was.
It was
That was number 5. It was in the
number 4.
bundle, yeah.
So we've already voted, but that was a good.
No, just a caveat.
Okay, I'm gonna try to bring the mic to Kay and Michelle, but I'm not sure it's gonna reach, so let's see what happens here. Meanwhile, unfortunately, our host, probably fearing the coronavirus themselves, did not turn on the projector. So you're gonna have to wing it a little bit.
Great.
This is as far as it goes, so you're gonna have to come to me.
No, I'll just talk really loud. Tell me.
No, you're talking to me. Sorry. Within reach of the mic.
Okay, hi, thank you. This is, wait a minute, what is this? This is 2 West 67th Street at Central Park West. First, I want to thank Susan. Where is she? Thank you. Where is she? Sue Schwartz. Oh, there you are. For your excellent note-taking and resolution writing. I think you got a permanent job. No, she says. So this is for replacement of one window on the eastern facade of apartment A on the 10th floor at this location. The current windows are in a state of disrepair. They don't function, they're corroding, moisture and air infiltrates, and there's going to be, it looks like an apartment renovation necessary. The work is going to be done from the interior. It's going to take 1 week, your lips to God's ears, for installation of this new window. And it's going to be the same configuration, no changes that way, only a little bit more modern in energy rating. It will match the historic envelope of the building, which has no master window plan, and we approved it as appropriate to the character of the historic district. Any questions? Okay, so all those in favor of the renovation of the window?
All in favor? 1, 2, 3.
And it looks like this. I could pass, I could pass. Never mind, nobody's saying it. Okay, I get it.
Don't mess with the yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
Thank you.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. All.
Oh, yeah. Right, exactly. So there's a ramp on the outside to get to the first level, and then there is a small ramp addition to get to the front door. So that, yeah, through kind of an entry court. Any questions about this one? Okay, let's vote.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Hands down, all of those opposed. 31, any abstaining? 1 abstention. Any ineligibility to cause? The vote is 32-010. 31-010.
Okay, we're gonna now go to Parks and Environment. There was a separate handout for the resolution. Does everybody have it? Raise your hand if you don't. You have extras there?
All right, is there anyone here from the Parks Department? I just want to make sure anyone is here from Parks. I know we have some public speakers for our second item. So at our February meeting for Parks and Environment, we actually had 2 very meaningful conversations about 2 parks and playground projects. The first, many of you may remember, was the Matthew Sapelin, I think Sapelin Playground, Sapelin, right? Which is at the PS 199 schoolyard. Many years ago, I guess 5 or 6 years ago, we voted to honorarily rename the playground in honor of Matthew, who is a former commissioner for the New York City Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. He very sadly passed away due to cancer in 2011. So this playground is really designed and wants to be sort of in his memory, focused on sort of accessibility for children of all abilities. So with that in mind, they are proposing a renovation of about $1.5 million over the sort of half acre, 0.35 acres, largely to replace the pavement and fences, drainage structures, and trash receptacles. We were wanting to support this project after hearing from the Parks Department and hearing from the community. The 2 things that we wanted to sort of add in addition to what was presented to us, and we would have shown it if we had the projector tonight, but it will be on the website if it's not there already. I don't know if John is still here, but it'll be up on the website. The 2 items that we wanted to add were recommendations about backless benches, thanks to Jeanette, who is here, and I don't know if you have questions about that. We thought that was a great addition to what they're planning to do, and also revisiting the trash can issue. For those of you who know the 70th and Amsterdam area, and the people who come and visit that playground, especially on the weekends, there's a lot of trash, there are rat infestations, and so we wanted to make sure that that was sort of included in our resolution. So it was unanimously supported by both the committee and those non-committee members in attendance, and happy to answer any questions.
I'll be glad to support it, but I think it's a misrepresentation that we're trying to make it more for all people with mobility disabilities. When our task force on playground went to survey different accessible playgrounds, we found that minimally accessible. With the ramp that's being replaced, and that's good, but there's nothing here that particularly enhances that part. The fact that the drainage and other things we done, all for approving the resolution anyway.
Now, the one thing that is changing is that there is a ramp that leads from the areaway in front of the side door of 199, which right now is a ramp that is not ADA compliant. So they're going to lengthen that ramp and put in the rest stops and the handrails so that it will be fully ADA compliant. You're correct that it is not the universal design that our board and your task force Catherine and all of those wonderful folks who did that at 105th Street. It's not that good, but it's a lot better than it was. So at least the first commissioner of people with disabilities will have his name associated with a park that's ADA compliant.
Thanks Shelley for pointing that out. So in any event, we thought it was a very worthwhile endeavor. Again, the full schematics and the design is going to be up on the website if you want to see any further details, Shelley. But we did vote unanimously to approve. So if there are not any further questions.
Further questions?
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Long for you in favor? 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Any non-voting cause? Okay, the vote is 32-0-0-0.
Thanks. So the second item, just a little bit further north at 108th Street and Riverside Park. Another item that's come before our board before, the Riverside Skate Park, which CB7 has been instrumental in supporting over the years. I know we have a number of public speakers, I believe 4 of them, but just basically this is again, it's a renaming this time, and one of the things we learned at our committee meeting, and if Steve Simon were here tonight, he would be able to go through the details, was just sort of the rules involved, just like we talk about street renamings, the rules that go into renaming a playground or a park. I'm happy to answer any questions about why we agreed that we thought this was an appropriate renaming for Mr. Andy Kessler. The resolution describes his background a little bit. He was sort of a pioneering leader in the skateboard community nationally and here on the Upper West Side, and really worked to, again, bring sort of youth and in particular sort of community into the skate park in the neighborhood. So I know, without further ado, Ian, I know you wanted to speak, and there are 3 others as well.
Which one over to where the mic
So
is?
it's Ian Clark, who's from the New York City Skateboard Coalition, followed by Aaron Aniton.
Thank you very much. So I'm here to speak in favour of the renaming of the new Riverside Skate Park to Andy Kessler Skate Park. It's been a very busy evening, and I appreciate your time, so I'll try to keep this brief. I'll just give a brief bio of Andy Kessler so you have a little background of him. He was born 1961. He died tragically in 2009 from an allergic reaction to a wasp sting. It was a huge blow to the skateboard community. Andy Kessler was raised on the Upper West Side. Andy Kessler was New York City's most prominent skateboarder. He was featured in the New York Times, New York Magazine, and many other periodicals. Andy Kessler lobbied for, designed, and helped build New York City's first skate park, which was Riverside Skate Park, and then many other skate parks after that. To quote Hall of Fame skateboarder Steve Olson, Andy Kessler was a pioneer. His contributions came right from his heart for the love of skateboarding and for the city of New York. He continued until the day he died. Thank you.
Aaron, and then Ivory, and Jamie.
Come on over.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I know it's been a pretty long night for all of us, so I'll try to keep this short. My name is Aaron Aniton. I'm actually here on behalf of the New York City Skate Coalition. I'm also a volunteer with the Tony Hawk Foundation. I unfortunately didn't get to know Andy Kessler. I got to know all of his friends for the past 10 years. Pretty sure we've crossed paths, but like I said, unfortunately I didn't get to know him very well. Sorry, this is really emotional for me. This is a big deal. I just really want to give a major shout out to everyone who's helped us get this far. CB7, Helen Rosenthal, Linda Rosenthal, Gail Brewer, Daniel O'Donnell, and a special shout out to Mark Levine. Not many of you, this is actually going to be really interesting. I recognize some of your faces in here. I'm actually I don't know if anyone's familiar with City and State magazine, but I'm the graphic designer, so I help put together, I don't write any of the stuff, so I just put it together and make it look nice. So I do recognize some of your faces in here. Mark Levine was, he's actually him and his office have been a major contributing factor in how we got this far. I met him at the groundbreaking ceremony, and then I actually saw him at a city and state event, and he kind of pulled me to the side, and we kind of got to talking. It was funny because he was asking me, what can we do next? And I kind of just like, the obvious answer is more skate parks, but I thought this was something that we both agreed that we thought this was something that, after I briefly explained to him who Andy Kessler was, and this is, again, like, I'm 29, about to be 30 this year. I've been friends with these guys for 10 years. I never got to meet Andy, but I know enough about him, and I'm here because I think this is the right thing to do. So again, I just want to thank everyone who's helped us get this far. For me, this is amazing. I'm a grassroots like skateboard advocate, so this is awesome. It's awesome to see the skateboard community and local government come together and create environments for kids who will enjoy this for generations. So thank you all.
I'll make this brief. As Ian mentioned, everyone's been here tonight, and I'd like to thank you, Elizabeth, for your kind words about Andy. I knew Andy very well. I knew Andy probably for about 15 years. He was a true New Yorker, I'd have to say. He lived in the Upper West Side for the majority of his life. I knew him as I lived on the Upper West Side for about 25 years myself. And this has been a really an important thing for a community of skateboarders, not only in New York, but as Elizabeth mentioned, and Ian, Andy's reputation preceded him wherever he went. And this is an opportunity to preserve a legacy. It's an opportunity to give a new skate park a new name. And Andy Kessler was not only a pioneer in skateboarding, but he also pioneered working with the New York City Parks Department in building skate parks. So at one point in 1995, he planted the seed, and this seed has grown, skateboarding has grown. I think it's an opportunity to name this garden after him. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Affamato, known in the skateboard population as Puppet-Head. I've been skateboarding for almost 50 years. I met Andy in December 23rd, 1977. I was 11 years old, actually 12 years old. And we skateboarded until the day he died. So I know him a very long time, and I think it's a great justice for us, or for you people, for the board, and for his people that are here, us four, Ivory, Aaron, and Ian, and myself, to name the skate park Andy Kessler. It's a really good thing. It's a great thing. I think it would be, it's not so hard for us, for you guys to do that and put it through, and it's a great honor for us to see that because of what he did for all of us. So if it's possible, let's do it, okay? Thank you so much.
So just, yeah, Susan.
Yeah, to say, I'll talk real loud and real quick. So at the meeting, Parks Committee meeting, it was so touching. The amount of effort that these guys have put in speaks volumes to what Andy was like. The amount of time and effort you put into getting it this far, they've got really touching letters of support from every elected official who's ever been in New York. It's really quite spectacular. There's a ream of them. But the thing that really touched me about it the most was the age diversity of the community and the mentorship. And it's like the really young kids and more senior people who are still there, and that it gives support. And you guys didn't really touch on it tonight, but the Parks Committee meeting, it came across loud and clear how helpful it is for the youth of the community to have that kind of informal community to support them.
Yeah, definitely. People of all abilities who can play. Just since Steve isn't here, Steve Simon from the Parks Department, he did clarify. I know, again, going back to when we think about street renamings, the main sort of criteria that we look at, the individual needs to have been deceased for at least 3 years, have a connection to the community, to the park in some way, and made a contribution to that park, and then there needs to be wide community support. So we felt for all these reasons, there was no question that this deserved to be renamed. The only other stipulation that we added to the resolution was we wanted to make sure that this could get done, and we get this in front of, get a resolution done so it gets in front of the Parks Commissioner in time for the opening, which we know is, I believe is going to be this spring. So, any other questions? Yeah.
It's more just an affirmation. I remember Andy. I knew him as an acquaintance. I wasn't friends with him, but he was really part of the neighborhood. I remember him at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument and Sheep's Meadow, and I think this is a great thing, and it kind of brings tears to my eyes because I remember him fondly.
No more questions for you.
All in favor? 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. All opposed? Any abstaining?
How are you going to come to?
Okay, motion carries 32.
Thank you. Thank you.
Meg is ill tonight, so she was going to present a couple of these, so I'm presenting them in her absence. Is someone here from 370 West End Avenue? Unfortunately not. What they're doing at 370 West End Avenue is they're putting in planters on 3 sides of the building. They have landscape designers. Unfortunately, I don't have the pictures. And they're very beautiful. They don't encroach on the street. There's just a sort of empty moat there now, and it's being filled in with beautiful plantings. So it's on 3 sides of, yes, it's on the east side of West End Avenue, and it's on 3 sides of the building. It's on 3 sides. Yeah, so it's being filled in with plantings. Any questions? It was very beautiful. Yep. It's not new, and my understanding it's a renovated building.
It's the facade of the old.
Right, they're renovating it. Yes.
It was part of collegiate school.
Yes.
Correct.
Questions, comments? Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Any ineligible to cause? No, the vote carries 33.
We had a very lengthy presentation from a company that provides crash avoidance technology at the transportation.
Aren't you skipping one?
No, it's okay. The list of resolutions and the list on your voting sheet are backwards. So just follow along, Howard will get you there.
We're on 16.
Well, it's 16 on your voting sheet, which I don't have in front of me. It's 15 on the sheet I have in front of me.
Correct.
And that is the crash avoidance technology item. Basically, we had this presentation, and crash avoidance technology is really very sophisticated these days, and there are a bunch of companies that provide this. We're very impressed by it, and we think the city, we're not calling on the city to implement it, we're calling on the city to evaluate and consider mandating this crash avoidance technology. I had a minor concern that it looked like mission control in the driver's seat, and it could be a bit confusing, but in any event, a lot of good can come from it. There is data it's been implemented in a lot of public transportation systems, specifically in buses, and there's been a radical reduction in injuries. So again, we unanimously called on the city to evaluate and consider mandating this driver assistance and crash avoidance technology in city and state vehicles. Yep.
Just a quick question. You said that there's like a lot of different companies that.
There's more than one.
Not like.
Right. We're not endorsing any one company. Right. Right. Yep, Jay.
Howard, the summary says all city and state fleet vehicles and all
companies.
vehicles regulated by the city and state, which would be every vehicle in New York State.
All vehicles regulated, the drafter of the resolution, yep.
Yeah, can I just add a little, Phil? So we're calling on both the city and the state to explore whether we should mandate this. The National Highway Transit Association has a deal with 20 automakers that represent 99+% of all new vehicles, that by 2022, this will be standard equipment in all new vehicles sold. So that in itself is extraordinary. And what we're talking about here is different crash avoidance technologies. If a pedestrian walks in front of a vehicle that has this, if it's built into the vehicle will automatically brake and hopefully stop and not hit, whether it's a pedestrian or another car or some obstruction in the way. The challenge is twofold. One, that the deal with the National Highway Transit Safety Association, NHTSA, is only for cars and light trucks. It's not for bigger trucks. And it's also only for new cars. So what we're looking at is looking for both the city for the vehicles it has control over and the state for vehicles which it has control over, which
Jay's point is
it is every new vehicle.
All very interesting, but that's not my question.
Yeah. So it's every new vehicle. It's not.
You just say all vehicles in New York.
So well, there are two factors here. One is we want it to be for cars that are not covered by the National Highway Transit Safety Association, or vehicles, bigger trucks, like the Brinks truck that killed a woman in our district a few months ago. We also want them to explore whether it makes sense to have aftermarket kits, which won't cause the vehicle to break, but provide warnings in city and state regulated vehicles. So that could be MTA buses, it could be...
I don't want to interrupt, but that's not...
Let me answer your question. The answer is yes.
Okay, so why not just say you want to study this or whatever it is you want to do for all vehicles in the state of New York?
Well, that's essentially what it says, all vehicles regulated by the city.
Right, because the city has some control over taxis, for example. There are a lot of taxis on the road right now that could get warning systems if we mandate that every taxi needs to have warning systems if it's not a new vehicle.
Every one of those vehicles is regulated by the state. It's redundant. Yep.
Yeah, but the city can take action.
That's what it says. Yes, I didn't focus on that language, but you're right. It's essentially all vehicles licensed in New York State.
But the city can take action separate from the state.
That's true.
So there is some sense to having it phrased the way it is.
There's,
City and state. Yeah, well, that's
in case the state doesn't go for it.
But that's all you need.
Okay, so other than drafting, are there issues with the resolution?
Call the question?
Yeah.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wait, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
He didn't, because he did.
22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, he started over.
You started over?
Oh, I think you missed a few here.
Okay, can everyone raise their hands for in favor again? Sorry. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29 in favor. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Any abstaining? 1, 2, 3. Any no? Okay. The vote is 29-0-3-0.
And last, we have a resolution calling for provisions to be made for the closing of the Hudson River bike path between roughly 100th Street and 125th Street. It's commonly known as Cherry Walk. Evidently, in April and May for about 2 months, which I guess that's an optimistic guess as to how long it'll be closed. They're going to be closing it down entirely, I understand, for repairs that were necessitated by Hurricane Sandy all the way back then. And there is a clear need for some kind of alternative path. It's the most heavily used bike trail in the nation, I understand, and a lot of people use it to commute to and from work. So we're just calling for some alternative provision to be made while that path is closed. Questions? Okay, call the question.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. All opposed? Any abstaining? 1.
And I just have one announcement. We were asked by the community board, namely the transportation committee was asked by the community board to come up with standards for requests for curbside access in front of residential buildings. It's clear that we cannot agree on standards for those, uniform standards for those requests at the committee, so I'm confident we will be able to, and I'll spare the committee board the discussion of that we couldn't reach a resolution. So what we decided to do is come up with a list of information we will require from people who are requesting curbside access in front of their building. We're going to discuss that list at our meeting 1 week from tonight, and I encourage you all to come if you have something to add. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And so our last resolution is a first for me in the following sense. It's a request for a leave of absence, and the person for whom we're asking the leave is here. Which I guess shows either Christian dedication to us, that he is with us with his ankle boot and his walker and so forth, but still wants to be with us. But the resolution still matters, because when one has a medical, first of all, bit of background because it may be new to some of you folks. We were advised by the borough president's general counsel that the former practice of the chair simply saying, sure, you have a leave of absence, is not kosher, that it has to go to a full board vote. It has been my practice, and I think I know the practice of Roberta, and I know the practice of Elizabeth, was that we say as little as possible about this. We distinguish between those that are asked for based on a medical need and those that are made for some other need. This was a medical need, as kindly demonstrated by Christian tonight. And the purpose of this is to make sure that you're not marked absent for purposes of your attendance with the borough president's office. And since Christian did miss a few meetings because of his injury, we are asking your vote to retroactively grant the leave of absence so that he is not penalized for his immobility. I hope there are no questions, and may I have unanimous consent for adoption? I see unanimous consent. So let's call that whatever the last vote was. And with that, with hands still raised, with a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You mustn't do that anymore. Thank you.